What's up guys, my name is Ace, and in Battlefield 6, as I'm sure many of you guys know, instead of having class-locked weapons, where there are certain weapon classes that can only be used with certain classes, instead we have open weapons by default with weapon proficiencies. So there's a bonus for using the correct weapon type with its corresponding class. And that's what we're going to be diving deep into today, to see how much of a benefit you're really gaining here by pairing the correct weapon with its corresponding weapon class. And let's just dive right into this with the Assault class. As we can see here, this one is tied to assault rifles, and the proficiency we get is faster draw times with assault rifles, as well as fire sooner when exiting a sprint, again, when using an assault rifle with this class. And let's first look at that sprint to fire time here. And honestly, I was getting fairly inconsistent results here. I believe sprint out times are either tied to tick rate or frame rate, and therefore I was getting fairly inconsistent results on a test-to-test basis. So sometimes I'd actually have a faster sprint out time without the assault class using an assault rifle, but more often than not, it was a frame or two faster using the assault class combined with an assault rifle, which even at that level, that is a negligible difference. So realistically speaking here, you're going to be seeing more variance than benefit. And as a result, this part of the proficiency is practically useless in my eyes. As for the other benefit we're supposed to be getting here, this is faster draw time. So I tested swapping from a pistol to an assault rifle, and once again here, the results I'm seeing are negligible at best, and at worst, it was actually very slightly faster without the assault class. I'm sure there's some weird tick rate thing going on here or something, but once again, regardless of whether or not there is an issue there, if there is any sort of an adjustment to this, it appears to be such a small adjustment that the margin of error from tick rate exceeds the improvement that you're seeing here. Now, I was just curious to test a few other things that maybe affected your weapon draw speed. So what about throwing a grenade, for instance? Well, in this case, it appears to be identical as far as I can tell with my testing. And what about mantling over an object, especially a higher object that takes a little more time and takes your gun out of the fight? Well, once again, negligible difference here with or without assault. And as a result, when it comes to the assault weapon proficiencies, they're either bugged out and not working at all, or the differences are so minor that they're not even consistently perceptible when looking at frame-by-frame comparisons. And as a result, at least effectively speaking, this weapon proficiency appears to be completely useless. What about Engineer though? With their weapon proficiency, this is tied to the SMG category, and with this we're meant to see improved hip-fire control when using SMGs. So, looking at it side by side here, in this case, we can absolutely see a difference when standing still with an SMG. We see a roughly 25% improvement to the diameter of our hip-fire spread. And that's excellent to see, but taking it a bit further, when firing our gun, the maximum amount of spread that we experience while firing is improved by about 12.5% when using Engineer with an SMG compared to using that exact same SMG without Engineer. And keep in mind, these effects stack with attachments as well, so if you're really going for an insane hip-fire build with an SMG specifically, Engineer is the way to go. And if you guys have missed my laser breakdown video, the lasers and the flashlight have a really big impact on our hip-fire spread values. I have done a full breakdown on this so you guys can see the exact values and the best combinations of attachments to use for the best hip-fire spread possible. I will leave a link to that video in the description down below. I'd highly recommend checking it out. But we can see here, with this weapon proficiency with Engineer, this is actually working as you'd expect, and it's pretty solid as well if you're planning on hip firing. After that, let's have a look at the support proficiency, which is tied to LMGs. And with this, when using an LMG and support, you get faster transition to aim down sight and no sprint speed penalty when carrying LMGs. So let's first have a look at our aim down sight speed here using the M60. As you can see, we're definitely aiming down sight faster when using support combined with this LMG. And based on my testing here, this is a roughly 15% improvement, which is definitely noticeable. But then taking a look at our sprint speed comparison here, on the left, we've got support with an LMG, and on the right is the same LMG without support. And we're definitely running a little bit faster when using support combined with this. And as expected, it says it removes the sprint speed penalty that you would normally have with an LMG, which, by the way, is a 5% penalty to our sprint speed. So we're just getting rid of that entirely, and now we're able to sprint just as fast as we can sprint with even a pistol in our hands, which is pretty impressive for an LMG, but still not your best method of getting around the map, of course. So it's clear the support weapon proficiency is absolutely doing what it's meant to be doing, and slightly improving our ability to use LMGs. And this finally brings us to the Recon weapon specialty, and this is of course tied to the sniper rifles in the game. And with this, it just says you have improved marksmanship skills, including reduced weapon sway, quicker rechambering between shots, and better breath control for steadier aim. And let's first have a look at weapon sway, and the first element here that was actually just recently fixed with the Season 1 update is when you're not using Recon combined with a sniper rifle, weapon sway is always taking place even when you're in the process of aiming down sight, meaning when you do aim down sight, you're not always going to be aiming to where the center of your screen is. As you can see, every time I aim down sight here, I'm aiming into a different location on that dummy every single time. Whereas when I'm using Recon combined with that same sniper rifle, every time I aim down sight, it is dead center right on the middle of my screen, and then the sway will kick in after I get aimed down sight. So that is a huge benefit to combining Recon with a sniper rifle. However, the amount of sway we experience once we do get aimed down sight and we stay aimed down sight for a while is also very clearly different here. Without Recon, you can see there's way more movement to that sight, and it is moving a lot faster as well, so it is going to be harder to hit your shot without Recon, especially when we consider the next fact here, and that is if you're not using Recon, you can't hold your breath with a sniper rifle. Whereas with Recon, you can hold your breath, which will completely steady your aim for about 12 seconds. Before you run out of breath, your sight will sway around, and then you can hold your breath again after a short delay. And that's once again a massive benefit to using sniper rifles combined with Recon. But that's not it. The other benefit here is it improves our rechamber time when using sniper rifles, and we can clearly see that taking place here. with this side-by-side comparison. Based on my testing, we're seeing a roughly 10% improvement to our rate of fire potential, which will help get those follow-up shots off just a little bit sooner. So when it comes to that sniper rifle proficiency with Recon, we're seeing some really good benefits here, especially relative to the other classes that we've looked at today. And that's pretty much it for the breakdown. However, I did want to share some of my opinions on this as well, now that I've done the testing and we can see exactly how these work. First off, obviously, when it comes to assault, I think something needs to be done there. If I can't even tell a consistent difference with frame-by-frame, side-by-side comparisons, there's clearly a problem and we're not getting nearly enough of a benefit there. Then, as nice as it is to have the engineer benefits with better hipfire on SMGs, and the support benefits with LMGs aiming down sight a little bit faster and getting around the map faster, at the end of the day, relative to the Recon proficiencies, these are quite weak. And so I'd love to see more incentive to pair the appropriate weapon with its class counterpart, similar to what we're seeing with sniper rifles and Recon. With that, I like the fact that if I'm thinking about sniping, I'm really heavily encouraged to be sniping with Recon. Sure, I could snipe with the other classes, but I'm going to be very noticeably less effective with that sniper rifle. And I think that's a good thing if we are going to stick to open weapon classes, which it appears that is going to be the case. Of course, they offer closed weapons, but those playlists aren't really pushed to the forefront very much, and they're not nearly as popular as a result of that. So I think with that in mind, I'd at least like to see more encouragement to pair the appropriate weapon type with its class counterpart. Now, of course, those are just my opinions on weapon proficiencies, and this is where I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about the current state of these weapon proficiencies? Do you guys agree with me? Do you think some of these, especially the ones outside of Recon, should offer more bonuses and benefits for using the right pairing? Or maybe not. Are you guys happy with them in their current state? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.